So thank you for your introduction, Olaf. As he said, I'm pretty much open to questions. So if you have anything that you want to ask, please go ahead and ask me. I love interactive sessions. And I have left enough room for discussions because I think there will be need to talk about some of those subjects. Good. As it has been said, my name is Fernandes. I am an employee of the company called Levigo. And yeah, I love those technical details, and fonts is especially one of my favorites. It's a hate-love relation, but a very, very interesting subject. I'm also the chairman of the PDF Competence Center. As referred today, we have multiple competence centers, and we're a group of, I think, 20 active participants within the technical working group inside the PDF Competence Center, just serving as a community to discuss and talk about PDF-related subjects and things that could and should be incorporated into the ISO standard. So if you're a member of the PDF Association, you're more than welcome to join the PDF Competence Center and the Technical Working Group if you'd like to. Good. PDF 2.0 for today. Ever since its inception of PDF, and PDF is more than 20 years old now, this is the first time that the major version number of PDF has changed. So, is there a reason, and I think actually that there are many reasons, why this has been the need to change the first version number. One of the reasons is, from a historical point of view, there has been a major change. If you have a look at PDF, as it has been all the time, it has been dominated by Adobe doing the specification and integrating all those PDF features into their products. It's starting with PDF 1.7, which has been developed by Adobe itself, but it has been handed over to the ISO, which resulted in the ISO 32000-1. Now, the PDF version 2.0 is the first version that is developed within a community of members in the ISO committee and others like the association. So this is a big change on how the development of PDF goes on. So if we have a look, Adobe has actually to step back a little bit and is being basically influenced by the national standards institutes which are part of the ISO. So there are multiple countries being pretty active in development, and the only way for Adobe, for example, to get their ideas into the ISO standard is to get with the US delegates and chat with them and talk with them and make decisions that they all can support. In addition, and this is a very beautiful situation that we are in, the PDF Association is allowed to also participate in that process. So we can send out persons to those ISO meetings. I have had the chance, as I've said, to participate in a meeting and to actively contribute content and comments for that to that ISO standard. We're not allowed to vote. That's a little bit sad sometimes, but this is still the task that the national standard bodies have to do. So far for the process, and if you think about that process alone, this is a huge change. It's a very change of the game, and I think even that change is worthwhile the new version number. So let's have a look at what is new or changed in PDF 2.0. This is only an excerpt. There are a lot of places where changes have occurred, and a lot of things that have been clarified. This is something that makes me personally happy, because the day when I started to implement something that handles PDF, parts of the specification, especially fonts, were not that clear. And now, if in that open process, in that collaborative process, there have been a lot of improvements, making the specification as a whole much more clear, much more easier to read, and there are a lot of error corrections going inside the PDF standard without even adding new features. That is already a lot of stuff that did go into PDF 2.0. So it's a lot of stuff, and it would be too difficult to cover everything today. So I will concentrate on basically some of them. But to have an overview, we have things like portable collection folders giving structure to the portable collections. We have interesting things like pronunciation, which is one of the favorite features of our chairman of the PDF Association, which will go into the PDF 2.0. We have major improvements when it comes to tag PDF, and a lot of other parts. I would like to concentrate on three things. This is associated files, tag PDF with changes that came in, and rich media. So let's start with associated files. If you have a look at a PDF document, since a while there is the possibility to embed any kind of content, to attach some kind of some files. These files can be almost everything, and we have seen many use cases of what has been integrated and how it has been integrated. But there's always one missing part, at least in my opinion. You never know in which relation these embedded files stand to the document, to the content of the document, whether it's something that adds some meaning, or if it's or maybe it's a replacement, etc. You have no idea from a technical point of view what is the meaning of that kind of embedded file. So this is an example that I love to take, because most people, especially developers, can easily understand it. If you think about the typical XLSFO process, so you have an XML document which contains all the data, no formatting, anything. And on the other side, you have an XSLT file to transform those XML data into some kind of almost formatted form, which will then go into a rendering of the PDF page. If you could integrate those files, it would be, again, not very clear in which relation those files are inside the document. Is it something for a reference, a supplement, or anything? And the cool thing is, starting with PDF 2.0, we are able to explicitly express that the XML is, for example, the source of the document as a whole, and the XSLT is kind of a supplement, an addition. So we are explicitly expressing that, this fact, so that you can programmatically, automatically use those information and do additional things. One beautiful example is, for example, is the way how a plugin for OpenOffice is able to write a PDF file, embed the OpenOffice file into that PDF container document, and just sending out that container document throughout the world. And in the moment when you want to re-edit this document, OpenOffice knows there is a specific embedded file inside this PDF document, which is the source of the document. So you can re-edit the document itself. We are not using the associated files concept up until now, but I hope that it will be changed if it is publicly released. If you would like asking a question,
the simple question: where's the difference between the already? Okay. just a simple question, the difference between this concept and the PDF-free concept, independent files and relationships are?
Okay. Actually, there is no difference, because this has been the predecessor, and this is also a pretty good example of how that community works. There has been a specific need in PDF-free to embed any kind of files and to give them meaning. And this concept has proven well, and it has been incorporated into the ISO 32000 from now on. Now it's available on a standard way to any other derived standard, or even if you're only using PDF, you can integrate that and use that. So it's getting enriched by that community. Good question, thank you. And this is why I love interactive sessions. So if you have questions, please go ahead. Yeah. So now I have those files embedded with meaning inside. And the nice thing is there are some predefined relations. So I can say that I have a file that is the source of, for example, a page or image or anything. We have relation data, alternative. So if you have alternative representations, for example, if your the source is, or you have an HTML version embedded in the document, you can state that this is an alternative view of a document's contents, for example. Supplement and encrypted payload. Encrypted payload is something pretty new. It is also a concept which uses the associated files to have a wrapper document and embed an encrypted document with a special encryption handler, and notifying the user that this is a very, very specific encryption type, and they might need to use a different library. But for any reader that is able to process such kind of documents, you can automatically see that there is an embedded file with exactly that relationship type, encrypted payload, and skip the container document if it's able to uncompress or unencrypt that payload document. It's an interesting use for exactly this type. Another thing that I wanted to show is a typical task that we have a lot today is converting emails. The problem with the email conversion is that you cannot really test it if your system works in any case, with any email written by any email software and transmitted by any kind of email system. We have at our company Lotus Notes, and I can trust you, we know how painful it can be when working with emails. But if you have that document, you could preserve the original data and in addition say, oh well, the first page was one email, the letter I've sent. The second page is actually another email, but which has been embedded as an attachment or forwarded message, for example. And I have a third, I have a fourth page, and third page is something different. The fourth page is, for example, a Word document that has been attached. Now you can embed those files and you give those the relationship to a specific page or a group of pages, and expressing that this has been the source for exactly that resulting document. So far for associated files. If you have any questions, go ahead. Not at all at the moment. Another subject that has undergone a major improvement is tagged PDF. Most of you know that tagged PDF, and it is not itself something new, but it has substantially changed in PDF 2.0. So for those who don't know tagged PDF, I just wanted to give you a quick introduction. I won't take long for this. If you see a a page inside a document, it does have some semantic meaning to you because of the formatting. But the formatting doesn't necessarily or isn't always necessarily easily transferable in computer software. So if you want to know that this, for example, up there is a headline, it should be expressed explicitly. And this is where tag PDF comes in. To be more precise, the combination of logical structure and tag PDF. We'll get back to that in a second. So I can express that this is a headline, and this is an image, and this image, in addition, has a caption. So I can have relations inside the document again, inside of the content itself. I have, for example, in this document, 3 paragraphs being on that side. So now I have a structure, and the sole purpose of tag PDF and logical structure is to explicitly express that structure within the PDF document, that it is consumable. If you have a look at Adobe Reader, head out for this little, I would say it's a price tag on the left side, but maybe you have to trigger it explicitly. But this is the view onto the tags inside the document, so that I can have the overall structure of the content within the document made visible. So as I said, tag PDF is pretty much strongly related with logical structure. To give you the basic understanding, logical structure is the basic concept. So I have a tree of structure elements which are related with content in the pages. So tag PDF is basically a usage guideline of how to use logical structure and how to express specific types of elements. For example, there is a tag library specifying the default elements, which is pretty similar but not identical to HTML. So we have some similar tags here. And now this is one thing that I personally love. I have read the tag PDF section in PDF 1.7 and 1.6 multiple times, and I pretty much was like this. I was pretty helpless at many points, and what makes me personally happy, there's one thing that has been done with those pages is 37 pages for tag PDF, and they've made the only correct decision what to do with that. It's basically throwing it in a trash can. It has been completely rewritten into a form that is much easier to read, including additional features. But this is a wonderful full stuff, because now it's possible for normal brains, I think I have a normal brain sometimes, to understand what's the intention, what should be done with tag PDF, and how tag PDF is going to work. During that rewrite, and before and afterwards, there have been some extensions to tag PDF, and I just wanted to highlight 2 of those. Namespaces, which is basically an extension of the logical structure concept, and DocumentFragment, one of my personal favorites of a rewrite of the tag PDF section. So namespaces, let's get into namespaces. You all know namespaces as a concept from XML. And you've already heard that tag PDF is basically a set of tags. So it's normal that you can have name clashes. And the cool thing is, starting with PDF 2.0, you can define namespaces for your tags. And in addition, you can have a role mapping specific tags within a namespace to the standard tags of the tagged PDF concept. For example, this is one of the most noted examples, I think, is MathML. If you have a look at MathML, it's a very specific language for expressing math equations. So if we take that, we have here some kind of equation. The XML equivalent for that this equation looks like this. And this is also basically the tagging tree that would result if I integrate MathML into a PDF document. So I'm expressing that subtle parts of this figure are, for example, a number, that I have a square root, or things like that. And this is good for tools that are able to handle that namespace. They could go ahead and extract that this kind of data out of the document and do additional processing, making it accessible, or writing it anywhere, or just checking whether the contents are right or not. And for all those consuming applications that are not able to handle this kind of data, you provide a mapping. You provide a mapping from the structure types that are MathML specific to the standard structure types. So for example, math becomes a formula, mrow is nothing else than a div, and other elements are becoming a span element. So an inline element that has no very strong meaning itself, is just enclosing something. So you have a pretty well structuring afterwards. DocumentFragment, as I said, is one of my personal favorites of the specification. What I'm faced a lot is a typical situation that people are working with documents, combining those documents and splitting them up, taking only pages. For example, if you have an input process, relatively often you have documents that should be, or that have been scanned in a curious way. They have to be reordered and remixed and remade up. So for example, we have a 3 pages document and a 2 pages document. If I just want to have the first 2 pages and the last one, I can do that. That's a old feature of PDF, it's not a big deal. But now I can explicitly express that I have taken 2 pages from one document and another page from another document. So I have 2 document fragments which build up my resulting document. It gives a lot of semantic meaning to the content. Any questions so far? Yeah.
Can I just ask on...
Hold the button, please. Hold it, I think. No, yeah, okay.
I'm speaking now. On tagged PDF, the biggest single problem we found with the original tagged PDF was not so much it was confusing, as it was an optional part of the specification, which meant that what would happen is a lot of people would like it to be tagged PDF, but by the time they actually have the files have been created without any tagged meta content in them. So what I was wondering is whether it would have been useful, in, given you've moved to PDF version 2.0, and you said it's a major change, whether something like making tagged PDF a mandatory part of the specification would have been justified in a big version change, and we could have also killed off type 3 type 3 fonts and inline images at the same time.
About inline images, if you have a look at the slide that I have presented as my last one this morning, there's one guy holding a sheet. I hate inline images. That's me. Okay. PDF itself is an enabling format. This is something you should keep in mind. It serves as the technical basis of a lot of things. For example, things like PDFA, PDFUA, and other related standards. So, in my personal opinion, it wouldn't make much sense that you say tag PDF incorporated tag content is a requirement for everyone, because there might be legal cases where you don't have any kind of tag content that you can include inside that document. And in those cases, it should be legal to write those documents. On the other hand, now you have PDF UA, for example, where this is a substantial part, or PDF 1A, that's always relatively complicated to say it, but also has the requirement to include that kind of tagged content. So these are the right places to integrate such a requirement. Doing that inside PDF would slow down a lot of things. And to give us that in addition, I pretty much think that the specification is really much more clear, and that we will see more adoption and more people writing tags in their documents, and more software vendors integrating that. So my personal hope is that it's going to be better, and PDF must serve as a basic underlying standard for many needs. Is this sufficient for you?
Can I just add on a personal note, the thing I found most frustrating in the PDF world is a number of people who criticise PDF on the basis that it's an unstructured document format, and you're sitting there going, but it's got tags functionality, it's had tags functionality since 2001, and you're not using it. It's a classic case where the users, or a lot of the users, don't understand the functionality that's available. And maybe if it was a default option, a lot more people would regard PDF as a structured format rather than an optionally structured format.
I don't know whether it would be, that would be actually the result. I pretty much think that the result would be that you will see a lot of rubbish documents that are trying, or generators that are trying to generate senseless kind of tagging information just to be sure that this has been integrated. We've seen that in the early days of PDFA, where some generators did actually another really good job. So they have been forced, because their clients told them, you have to do PDFA 1A. And the result was, at the beginning, not very beautiful. But in for PDFA, you have also the possibility to go back and say, okay, I can't provide the tags, and I have to do a PDFA 1B, for example. So I think it is the correct way to address this, and I don't think that it would help actually, but if you're forcing people to do so. In contrast with inline images, we should shoot them. Okay. Okay, go ahead. I already feared that I'm not talking long enough, but I have a good feeling now.
Regarding mapping, tag mapping,
yep.
Is it simple one-to-one tag mapping, or are there more complicated or more complex mapping introduced?
Do you have an explicit use case or an example what you have in mind? Because for me, in my first thinking, a simple one-to-one mapping should be sufficient.
No, I don't have. That's why I asked.
Okay.
Is it going to be part of the PDF itself, the mapping table, right?
Yeah, it's part of the PDF document itself, and it is a simple one-to-one mapping. In most cases, when you are unsure whether a tag should be integrated in any kind of other tag, or you would like to do transformation, I think in most cases it will be sufficient to say, hey, I have a span here. I have a more relevant structural information on the tag level one level up, and after that a span, just to say it's some kind of grouping without explicitly stating that it has that special meaning. So yeah, basically it's a one-to-one mapping. Good. The last thing that I wanted to go into a little bit, at least, is the rich media framework. To give you a little bit of a history, PDF has had, since the ISO 32000-1, the so-called extension levels or extension capabilities. So a vendor could write specific extensions to a PDF, explicitly state within the PDF that it is using that extension, And everyone that wanted to support had to go over to that vendor of this extension to support it. Adobe did exactly that. There's a specification called the Adobe Extension Level 3, extending PDF 1.7 or PDF the ISO 32000-1 with a lot of different things. One of those things has been a rich media framework. So they integrated that into their extension level. And after some time, it has been proven well, there have been some corrections, but basically those have been integrated into the ISO 32000-2 or will be integrated to be a little bit more precise with a lot of different changes, making it a little bit more neutral, but the basic technique has been proven. And this is a very nice example of how that process can go from something vendor specific into something pretty much standard. And I also personally have a little history with that section of that document. I've read that section multiple times, and I felt there's something wrong. And after a while, I've seen that some tables have been duplicated. In the transition process, there has been a little problem. Now, the nice thing is that I, instead of before, when I was alone sitting in my bureau and crying because there's something going wrong with the standard and I have no idea what to do, now I have a platform. I went up to our chairman, Olaf Drümmer, and said, hey, did you see that? Is that explicitly meant that way or not? And within a relatively short amount of time, we've looked through all the existing documents and seen, well, there's a problem. Let's get back to the project leaders of the ISO 32000 and get that addressed. And this is, I cannot say it often enough. It is a community. It has been changed. This is my personal reason for 2.0. So, to get back to the original topic, the rich media framework is a rather a complex one, but it has a lot of flexibility. Before you had very simplistic and very focused ways of integrating multimedia content into a PDF document, for example, video, audio, etc. But there's no common way to do it up until now. With the extension, you can actually integrate and control how that multimedia content is displayed in the viewer. And this is one example document that I've made. Basically, it's rich media is nothing else than an annotation with some extensions. And I have two types of annotations in here because we can actually control that. The first one on the upper one with the square and the circle is basically an inline video playing inside that viewer. And the other one is just a teaser which actually launches an additional window, and as a generator you can control where this window is going to be positioned. It was quite challenging to do exactly this screenshot because I have two videos playing at the same time, two times the sound playing at the same moment, and my key for shutting down the audio was broken. It is strange to hear the same presentation in two different time frames. So, just a rough feature overview. You can explicitly define how and when the activation should take place. For example, the explicit activation, like clicking on that annotation so that playing goes on or the window opens, or if that viewer supports the magical three-finger hand lift trick, or if a page is going to be visible, the page is focused, so there's different, which one is the active page. If that gets active, it will start interacting with the multimedia element, and also control when and how everything deactivates. Again, explicit deactivation loses focus, or page is no longer visible. And the cool thing is that now there will be one concept supporting multiple different types of multimedia content, like audio, video, or 3D scenes. And it has been It has extensive support for ECMAScript, so you can actually very much control how that is going to be displayed. So, time goes on, time rushes by. One last thing, I wanted to put all that, what I've said until now, a little bit together. So if you have, if you look at the document before, it's a rough sketch, but it should be, it is sufficient. If I have a feeling that I need some kind of video, I just add it with the new multimedia framework. I can annotate that document, give it a structure, so that I see, well, I have an article, I have a heading, and even better, I can explicitly say, hey, for this article, I have this source file, which has served as the source for that document. And in some cases, when I want a larger resolution image, I can say, hey, there's that figure, and please, if you need a higher resolution image, there's an alternative representation of that image embedded right inside the document. So these, all those features that I've been explaining are not self-standing and do not interact with each other. They actually interact. Associated files can have relations to the structured content of a tree. So basically, I'm at the end. If you still have any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Go ahead. Press the button somehow.
Oh, this button. I have one question. I press for.
Press it once.
Okay. I have one question. How about backward and forward compatibility? Right? Say this PDF 2.0 files open in the older versions of viewers, printers. How is that going to work?
So if it's forwards compatible, no, it's backwards compatibility. Okay, but if you're using a PDF 2.0 document or writing a PDF 2.0 document, and you basically do that by changing exactly 1 byte. I'm saying this is not version 2, to be honest. This is not a PDF 1.7, it is a PDF 2.0. So the basic structure of the document format is fully compatible itself. There have been some subtle changes, and I don't have a list in mind, but there are subtle changes that were required for clarity that are not 100% backwards compatible. But in most cases, you won't face any bigger problems. If you use features that have been defined in PDF 2.0 but is not available in older versions, the viewers are not going to support it. I think that's clear. But there's a lot of stuff that is pretty much backwards compatible, in which there is no real issue. Is that enough?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? If not, I thank you very much for your attention. And I wish you a great day on the PDF days today and tomorrow. Thank you.